Greetings, people of the internet. I am Scott with Serkworks Art Labs. This is the underground lair where we create robots, aliens, zombies, and other imminent threats to humanity. We also create comic books. This is the comic book we're working on. And I say we because we're all on this together. It's kind of like a journey, so thank you for joining me. But this is my comic book, Young and the Dead. This is the first 3 issues, and they're available at Serkworks.com. So what is Young and the Dead? Oh, come on, you guys know. If you've been watching this for a while, then you know. If this is your first episode, bear with me, everyone who's seen all the other episodes. But this is it's Young and the Dead. It's a kids versus zombie story. It's kind of like Goonies meets Night of the Living Dead, and you can find them at Serkworks.com. That's my comic book. That's what I'm working on for this 100 Days of Making Comics Challenge. Now, what is that? Now, I've got to explain that again. This happens every episode, so get used to it. If you're new, get used to it, because you've got a few 20-some-odd days left, and I'm going to keep harping on all that. But every episode is somebody's new episode, just like every comic is somebody's new first comic, you know? So that's something. Who was it that said that? Was that Jim Shooter, or was it Stan Lee? I don't know. I think it was Jim Shooter who said that over at Marvel, or used to be at Marvel. But anyway, yeah, so you kind of got to briefly introduce new characters and stuff just to get people up to speed. So if you're new, welcome. And that's what this is, or this is what it's all about. This is the 100 Days of Making Comics Challenge, where you spend 30 minutes or more every day working on your own personal comic book project, and you do that for 100 days straight, and you vlog about it. And important that you do it straight. Now, if you fall behind a day, you can pick it up, but you find that can get problematic. Usually if you fall behind one day, it's like, well, I kind of lost my, you know, lost your mojo, whatever you want to call it. But so yeah, do get back on the horse as soon as you can. But the idea, it's really important if you can to do them straight, and you know, like you do that every day. So you don't fall behind, because once you fall behind a little bit, you know how habits are. You break a habit a little bit, then it's just so easy to keep going like that. But anyway, this is all about creating good habits. So everyone find that 30 minutes a day, whether it's at night, it's in the morning, or if it's your lunch hour, or whatever. You can find 30 minutes in every day to work on your comic book project, and hopefully more. If you find more, that's great. So anyway, so where are we in the challenge? Like I said, we've got 20-some-odd days left, but where are we exactly? We're going to do this is another ritual we do every time. We've got the big sheet of paper. We've got the big oversized paper, big fat Sharpie, and we are at day 77. Day 77, that's where we are in the challenge, so we just jot that down, just so we know where we're at. And talking about comics today, talking about my comic, I wanted to tell you, and maybe you've heard me talk about this before, but maybe you're thinking about starting this challenge, or you're already in it, and sometimes when you're getting started on a project, it can seem pretty overwhelming, especially if you got like if you're working like a graphic novel or something that's, you know, just massive, or whatever, this, you know, ongoing web comic and everything. Sometimes it can seem like the end is never in sight, and sometimes that can be discouraging, and that's one of the things that might stop you from continuing on with your journey. Now, when I originally created the idea for Young and the Dead, my comic, it was just going to be a quick story, and I thought, you know, I was trying to come up with something simple, because this was another challenge that kind of sparked that whole idea. That was a challenge also created by Kevin Cross, who also started this challenge. But he had another challenge that he started called the Mini Comics Dump Truck, and it was like a mini comics club where everyone works on a mini comic, and at the end, everyone involved, you get to trade your mini comics back and forth. So if you create a mini comic, then everyone else in there, you send one to everyone else sends one to theirs to you, and then you get all these mini comics, and it's super cool. So I just wanted to come up with something simple. It was supposed to be like an 8-page story or whatever, okay? So as I started writing this, and when I thought of simple, I'm thinking, well, I'll just do a zombie story, because how hard can that be, you know? And then I thought of kids and zombies, and oh yeah, so, you know, this will be cake, you know. And then I started getting into it. I started liking the characters and everything, and it became more than just that 8-page story. And then I started fleshing it out, and I'm like, this could be like a graphic novel. And the thought of creating a graphic novel was very intimidating, and I don't think if I set out to just create a graphic novel, I would be able to finish it, because I get very distracted. I get ADHD or whatever you want to call it, ADD, and it's hard for me to stick on the same thing for long. If you see me, when I'm not making this comic, I'm doing all kinds of other stuff. So I've got to move around and do different things, or else I will get bored. And a big project like that is just it doesn't work with me. So what I decided to do, instead of doing this huge graphic novel, well, it's not huge, it's, you know, I guess average size graphic novel. I decided I was going to break it up. You know, I've got this story, and I'm going to just put it out as issues. Now, maybe that's nothing revolutionary, okay? A lot of people put out issues of comic books and then they collect them in trades. That's nothing new under the sun right there, okay? But for me, these books here, these individual issues, were never really going to be something necessarily that I present to the world. For instance, even though I've got them up on my website and everything, and this may sound hypocritical, because almost every episode I'm like pitching this thing, you know, oh, it's at my website and all that stuff. So I do mention it, but I'm not, at least, especially in the beginning, I wasn't really trying to sell these. And I mean, if I wanted to, I can go around and I can get these in the stores, especially around here. You know, in Arizona, there's a lot of cool comic book stores, and most of them are very independent comic friendly, especially local talent. So I could go get my books in there, and if I wanted to take it further, I can get them further along. But I knew, because of the way I work, like I'm talking about, that these are going to come out on a regular basis. So I haven't really done that. So if you want to pick them up, they're on my website, but I don't, in general, I don't really let a lot of people know about it. I did run a Kickstarter for them and everything for the last, you know, when I finished the last issue. But for the most part, the big thing is that trade, that graphic novel that would be everything collected. Now, once that's done, then I'm really going to start promoting them. I will try to get into the stores and do all that other stuff. But that's a long way to go, because it takes me a long time to do these. I mean, for like a 24-page book, I mean, it's like a year, you know, it takes me about a year to do it. Now that may seem crazy, but, you know, because people put out issues every month, and that's why I don't really want to let people, only the people who really care and that I kind of know that they'll be okay waiting for the next issue to come out, because it's not like a regular comic where it's going to come out every month. But the end goal is there, and eventually I'll get to it. But I've got, like I said, ADD, I've got to do other stuff in between there. So it's not like I'm only working on this book and it takes me that long, but it usually does average out to about a year, maybe sometimes even more per issue. And that seems like a long time, but it is getting done along with a lot of other stuff. So whatever kind of works for you, but basically what I'm getting down to is the idea of breaking your projects up. If you got a web comic, break it up into chapters and have some kind of end goal, like this chapter's done, and like a little celebration. Maybe you take a little break before the next one starts or something like that, or you celebrate or whatever. But you got to have those milestones along the way, at least if you're wired like me, or it's going to be really difficult to complete these big giant projects, because it can seem overwhelming. So anyway, but that seems to be working for me. It goes very slowly, but it will get done eventually, and as long as I set those little milestones. So in order to do that, we do have to make progress in the book. So we're going to do what we always do and go up here to the paralleloscope, which allows us to view alternate realities, parallel universes, other dimensions, whatever you want to call them, where the comic book is already going on right now, the creation of the comic book, I should say. So we're going to kind of take a peek into there, and we're going to see what's going on. Back to working on page, what is this, page 6 of Young and the Dead issue 4. And of course, this is the part I like, when I get the brush out and I start inking. But we talked about like breaking up your project and you know how that can help just in kind of your mindset as far as when you're creating your comics and everything, so it's not so overwhelming. But the other thing I'd like to do is I don't want to do the same thing over and over. For instance, I don't want to, or in a row, like some people pencil every page, but well, I'm talking about people who do pencil and ink and basically create their own projects, not just people that, you know, are just pencilers and then they hand it off to an inker or whatever. But you know, and people work differently. Some people will pencil their entire book and then they'll go and ink their entire book and then color their entire book. I like to switch it around a little bit, so it's just not all straight penciling and inking. Of course, you know, I script everything and thumbnail everything, and then I thumbnail everything. But once I get sort of to the stage where I start to draw, I'll do I usually do one page at a time. So I'll pencil the page, and then when I'm done penciling that particular page, I'll go ahead and ink that page instead of just penciling all my pages and then inking all my pages. So I don't know, it kind of helps. It's another way of breaking things up and making it interesting, at least to me. But then again, you know, after that, you know, I don't know, I'm curious what you guys do, because some people may do a whole page from start to finish, and that includes even coloring. So maybe they'll pencil, then they'll ink, then they'll flat, then they'll color a page, and then letter a page, and then move on to the next. I don't know. I'm curious how many people do that, but you know, what is your process? How do you approach, for those of you people who do everything from writing to drawing to coloring to, you know, lettering, all that stuff? Do you do like page at a time? Do you do one step at a time? Do you kind of mix it up? Do you have any sort of, you know, how do you approach your projects? Because everyone works differently, and there's no right way to, you know, to approach a project. It's whatever feels comfortable to you, whatever works best for you, whatever is going to help you get your project done. And for me, that means kind of breaking things up and mixing it up, and doing that kind of helps out. But you know what today is? Today is Tuesday, and what is Tuesday? Tuesday is Taco Tuesday, so got this super awesome spread, carnitas and stuff, and oh man, that guacamole, it's like a guacamole, it's more like a salad, was awesome. This was over at my girlfriend's aunt's house, and she's from Mexico, and she makes like just amazing food. But look at all those carnitas. Okay, we are back, and that's going to put an end to day 77. So we pull that off the big pad of paper. And that's just going to symbolize that our day is done on this, and we can look forward to the next day. So I will see you guys tomorrow for, what is it, day 78? Goodbye, day 77. See you tomorrow for day 78. That is all. Hey everyone, you've seen the process. Now you can check out the story. Issues 1 through 3 of Young and the Dead are available at my website at serkworks.com. Also follow me on social media at the links listed below. Subscribe and check out some of the other videos in the series. There's much more to come.